Hiya, and welcome back to No More Future, the game that teaches us that toasters have feelings too. Welcome back if you're just coming from Heart of Amethyst. We blasted through the rest of the update in like 7 minutes. So anyways, let's just hop right in. If you don't like the way most places react to you, well, existing, then why come here of all places? Bloomberg never struck me as a particularly forward-thinking place, all things considered. He probably didn't have a choice in the matter. If I had to guess, it's not like No, I chose to come here. Willingly. Huh? But... Your reply leaves the two siblings speechless. Albeit not for long. Well, that's an interesting decision for sure. Place as backwards as it gets. No fucking shit, everyone here's got it out for you. You might as well wear a sticker on your back that says, "Kick me." You turn to face the human, looking slightly irritated. I didn't do it for them, you know. If I could avoid it, I'd never set foot here again. The conversation's taking some very personal connotations of all of a sudden. It's definitely not something you expected or looked forward to discussing. Though that hardly stifles the siblings' curiosity. But then, why would you come here? It takes you a while to muster the energy needed to answer. Because my family lives here. At least, they used to live here. Hell if I know where they went after... Your family? Daphne's expression appears to have considerably soured upon hearing that word, and her brother appears to be under a similar spell. Yeah, I've been looking for them ever since I came to. When we last spoke, A dark cloud takes over your mind as you touch upon those last terrible days. The things you heard, the things you said. The more you think about them, the colder your insides become. Yo, my window's still open. Not anymore. You try your best to push back against the darkness, hoping to stay sane long enough to get out of this conversation. Let's just say we didn't really leave on a high note. But that's why I gotta find them again. I can't accept that they just move on without me. Not when I'm still here. Not when we can still be a family. What? I'm sorry. What? Hang on. Hold up. Hold up. We are looking that shit up. We are looking at shit. Okay. Okay. Okay, it has a 6.1 out of 10 rating. 54 on Metascore. And let's actually get back to the thing, because otherwise I'll start reading the reviews. But, oh my god. Not when I'm still here. Not when we can still be a family. I know things are different, and that they likely suffered a lot as a result of my passing. But I'm sure that if I can just show them what I've become, they'll realize that there's no reason to feel hurt. Indeed it was. I haven't actually seen the Bee movie in a while. I need to sit down and watch it again. You take a long sigh as you sort through your messy feelings in your head. I didn't come this far and endure so much only to lose everything anyway. If I could regain my life, I'm sure I can regain my family too. I have to believe that. I'm sure you'll win them back sooner or later, Isaac. I have full faith in you. Anything is possible so long as you believe in it. The smile on Apollo's face is all the comfort you need right now. His unbridled enthusiasm is more than enough to keep your dark thoughts at bay and restore your hope for the future. You're truly blessed to have someone like him by your side right now. His sister, on the other hand, appears far less ecstatic for some reason. And let me get this straight. You're looking for the very people who abandoned you. Forget it. Nothing good's gonna come from that. You do well to give them all the middle finger and go do your own thing somewhere else. Daphne! You can't just say something like that. Why not? Am I supposed to encourage him while he goes on an endless quest for misery? His family fucking ditched him, Apollo. Why the fuck should he reconnect with people who threw him in the trash without a second thought? You're too stunned to say anything. Daphne's words cut deeper than she intended, and your wounds are beginning to show. Noticing your discomfort, the human pushes the still half-full plate forward and stands up from the table. Sorry, I'm not hungry anymore. I'll be in the bathroom. Without another word, and with her face still staring at the floor, the girl fast walks out of the room with clenched fists swinging by her sides. You're left in the kitchen with Apollo, still busy pondering over her troubling advice. She suggests leaving behind your family, abandoning them like they did to you. Was she wrong in doing so? You can't say you don't see the point. Given what happened, it wouldn't be unreasonable to try and forget about them entirely. But is that really what you want? Is that what you really gave up your life for back at the hospital? In the midst of all this pondering, you hear Apollo trying to comfort you once again. I'm sorry about all this. Don't be. It's not your fault any of this happened. In fact, was it? Was it something I said that made her upset? Am I to blame for her outburst? Of course not. It's just that Daphne's The lamb hesitates to speak further about this topic. She's had it rough is all. But I'm sure she'll get better soon. She's strong like that. I'm sure she'll be back any minute now. The lamb quiets down after that assertment, hoping that his sister might hear him and come back to finish her dinner. However, his faith does a complete 180 before even 10 seconds have passed. Anyway, I'll go check up on her just to be sure. In the bathroom? Yeah, gotta make sure she doesn't fall in the toilet or something. You'll be fine on your own for a while, won't you? You see no reason why you shouldn't be. Assuming you don't lose your mind worrying over these two in the meantime. But you trust yourself enough not to have a panic attack in the middle of the lamb's apartment. Of course. I'll be waiting in the living room then. Awesome. I'll see you in a bit then. Don't go anywhere. And feel free to play a few games on your own while you're waiting. I want you to kick her butt next round. Got it? I can't promise much, but I'll do my best. Giving you a final thumbs up, the boy runs after his sister, leaving you all alone in the middle of the kitchen. Looks like you're going to be on your lonesome for a while. Not exactly how you imagined your evening to turn out. Everything was much more interesting than you thought it'd be, though you can't necessarily say you enjoyed yourself either. You give a final look into the bowl before you, which you completely emptied in the midst of your earlier conversation. At least the food was nice. You quietly head back towards the living room, resting your heavy back on the comfortable couch. You could certainly follow the young man's advice and play a couple more games on your own, in order to be more prepared the next time Daphne challenges you to a fight. But you cannot seem to get past the results screen with your last upset, so wrapped up you are in your thoughts. So much has happened since you first entered through that door. You're not sure how you're meant to feel right now. One thing's for sure though, you're in no mood for playing. Tired and pensive, you find your gaze wandering towards a corner of the room, where some old framed photos reside within an alcove in the wall. Odd. You can't recall anyone else aside from your family relying on old artifacts like those. Though they seem somewhat ordinary, you're intrigued nonetheless. You stand up and head towards that alcove, your mind so overcome with curiosity that you don't even try to question the rudeness of your actions. Among the many photos which depict the two siblings in their younger years, one stands out among the others. The young Daphne and Apollo stare into the camera from afar, with what looks like their parents standing behind them. They don't look anything like her, that's for sure. Though that's to be expected. It's exceedingly rare for two family members to share the same species, though not necessarily impossible. The photo itself looks rather nice, in spite of its simplicity. It's definitely among the cutest things you've seen in recent memory, Daphne's uncommon face included. Looks like she hasn't always been all doom and gloom after all. Apollo, on the other hand, doesn't seem to have changed much since then. You can't see their appearance very well due to the strange lighting of the image, but the two of them look about as happy and proud as they can be. You wonder where they are now. Probably living someplace else, you imagine. Both Daphne and Apollo appear to be old enough to vote, and not everyone likes to live under the same roof as their parents past a certain age. Even you were planning to move out at some point, before the hospital sent you that letter. That's strange. How come the room got so cold all of a sudden? You could swear that you just felt a chill breeze pass you by, in spite of the fact that you're quite literally indoors. A strange feeling begins to crawl under your metallic skin all of a sudden, the all too familiar feeling of being watched. Where this feeling originated from, you have no clue. You haven't heard a sound from the direction the two siblings disappeared towards in quite a while now. And yet, that dreadful feeling keeps growing stronger and stronger, like an obscure malady? Festering within you. Hey, yo! As your eyes are repelled from the photo by an almost physical force, you have to do a double take. There's something lying just beyond the counter, watching you. For a few brief moments, you stare into its blood-red eyes in pure denial of the situation as your mind tries to convince you that this is nothing more than a simple dream. Unexpected, or a nightmare. The words that come out of the entity's invisible mouth are like 1,000 whispers in the dark, shapeless and ever-changing. If before you were unsettled, now you are thoroughly frightened. You shyly stumble backwards, holding the photo you were carrying against your chest as if to protect the two children within it from what you're witnessing. You try to avert your gaze from the apparition beyond the corner, if only for an instant, only to realize that it has long since vanished. You take a moment to stop and recover your breath. Futile though it may be, you're hyperventilating, and your gaze is darting all over the place in search of that disturbance. You are clearly losing your mind. Was that some sort of hallucination? A visual bug similar to those wisps from earlier? Perhaps a consequence of visiting this madhouse for too long. What the... Your questions are immediately silenced as you feel a cold, weightless claw land on your shoulder from behind you. An ageless gaze tears into your soul as your body freezes up, incapable of reacting to the madness that has taken hold of this room. You are purposeless. Again, it speaks from a mouth it doesn't show. What do you seek to accomplish here? Another pause, though the respite is brief. Perhaps... The hand suddenly slides off of your shoulder, its gaze shifts focus as it turns to face the other way. You'll prove your worth yet. You hear the sound of footsteps coming from behind you. 1, 2, 3, then no more. As fear's grip on your subsides, you immediately turn around. However, no matter where you look, the shadow is nowhere to be seen. What's going on? Isaac, are you okay? Apollo's voice beckons you as both he and his sister rush into the room, looking rather alarmed. Why are you standing there like that? You look like you've seen a ghost. Once more, you steer your gaze in the direction where that apparition disappeared to. The room remains as it always was, with not a trace of that phantasm left to see. Though you still fear that the entity might reappear again when you least expect it. You're somewhat confident that you're safe for now. Hey, are you okay? Right. You almost forgot about Daphne and her brother, dreading the return of that fiend as you were. Yeah, There's no way you can tell them about what you just saw, not while you still have no idea of what you did see in the first place. As you struggle to come up with an excuse, you lock onto the old picture of the two siblings that you're somehow still carrying in your arms. I just recalled some bad memories is all. I guess that conversation earlier at the dinner table left me a little vulnerable. While Daphne's expression is anything but certain, the lamb wears his feelings on his sleeves quite cleanly. I'm sorry. This is all my fault. I shouldn't have left you here on your lonesome when you were clearly not feeling well. That's because you went to check up on your sister. There's nothing shameful about that. And besides, it's my fault. I got spooked about that spider earlier. I really overreacted. A spider? You didn't say anything about that earlier. Ah, fuck. I'm not paying attention. Gotta focus on keeping my story straight. If I have to tell them about what I saw, they'll really start to think I'm crazy. Yeah, it caught me off guard while I was thinking about some stuff. That's why I fell. Oh dear. Must have been terrible. Quite. The human's eyes dart all over the room, inspecting the place from top to bottom, as if she's looking for that spider. She'll be searching much longer still. Realizing that, Daphne turns her annoyed look on you once again in an effort to resume the conversation. So, looking through our old photos, huh? That's right. You were snooping around their private collection before that thing caught you by surprise. In the heat of the moment, with everything that happened, you completely forgot about your rude and thoughtless actions. Only now do you realize that you probably should have just followed the lamb's advice and kept to yourself for a while. I'm very sorry about that. No, that's alright. I get it. Bad memories and all that. Plus, it's not like there are any rules around these parts saying the frames are off limits, even though there should be. That said, could you please return that photo? I don't want it to get scratched or anything. Oh, right, here. You hand the framed photo back to Daphne, who immediately brings it back to the half-hidden alcove in the corner. Thank God nothing happened. Got a little nervous for a second. Is that photo important? Very. Even without knowing why that is, you still feel awful about grabbing that frame on a whim like that. It clearly has a special place in the two siblings' hearts, and it was rude of you to treat it so carelessly. You'd ask for their forgiveness once again, but you feel as though the lot of you apologize to each other more than enough for one night. Perhaps changing the subject will be a better received initiative. So, was everything alright? Yeah, Daphne just needed a moment to get her thoughts sorted out is all. The girl's gaze nonetheless refuses to meet with yours, almost as if she were embarrassed by what happened. Anyway, now that we're all here, we can get back to playing video games. I've been looking forward to seeing you guys duke it out all night now. I'm sure it'll be a battle for the ages. Come on, Apollo. You can see he's tired. You are? If you are, you honestly can't tell. Maybe Isaac would rather head home now and come back another time. We can't know unless we ask. Oh, you're right. Sorry. So, what do you want to do, Isaac? We could do something together, or we could just call it a night if you prefer. Truth be told, you were looking forward to playing a few more games with Daphne earlier, if only to get a better shot at knocking her down her pedestal. On the other hand, with everything that happened tonight, it's kind of hard to muster the same enthusiasm again. With so many questions cluttering your head, enjoying the game could be pretty tough. Not to mention, it's possible that you may be overstaying your welcome. Maybe that's why Daphne mentioned your tired look before. I think I'm gonna have to pass. Daphne's right. It's been a long night, and I could use some rest. Oh, that's unfortunate. I was really hoping that... I'll be back another day, alright? I've been looking forward to tearing Daphne a new one myself. Maybe we can arrange that for another time. If you'll still have me. Apollo's spirits are reinvigorated upon hearing your promise. You really visit again? As many times as you'll have me. Your words seem to have a positive impact on the young man, who can barely keep himself together. Daphne, on the other hand, doesn't seem to have any issues keeping her own emotions in check. Alright then. I'll accompany you to the door. Gotcha. See you again, Apollo. You too, Isaac. You exit the apartment after waving your goodbyes to the lamb a final time, who gladly reciprocates in kind. He doesn't follow you all the way to the hallway, however, instead heading towards the back of their home where you assume the bedrooms are located. Poor kid probably deserves a good night's rest far more than you do. His sister quietly hangs by the door, getting ready to see you off for the night. Thanks for the nice dinner, by the way. Never really got to thank you for that. Don't mention it. It was nice sharing it with you. The girl's expression once again veers off into the uncertain, some heavy thoughts likely troubling her mind. What's up? You feeling well? Yeah, I'm fine. It takes her a moment to continue the conversation. Look, did you really mean what you said earlier to Apollo? What are you referring to? You know, about you wanting to come back again? Are you serious? Judging from her silence, it appears as though she is. Of course I meant that. I had a fun night. Right. You don't believe me? Yeah, sorry about that. Hard to believe someone who got yelled at thrice in one night would ever want to come back here again. Of course, it's possible you might just want to come back here for Apollo and the food and stuff, but even then, Look, I'm going to be real with you. You're right. You did give off the impression that you're a fucking psycho. And I'm not going to tell you that I enjoyed all those shouting matches earlier, either. No matter how much I can empathize with you. But, I still had fun with you guys nonetheless. I enjoyed playing video games with you, hanging out and chatting with you and your brother. And yeah, the food was pretty good too. All in all, you didn't strike me as the sort of person I should steer clear from. Too much. Rather, I'd love to learn more about you. Plus, you treat me like an actual person when I'm around you. That's already a big plus in my book. The girl remains stuck in place for a while, thoroughly speechless. It's clear that she didn't expect your reaction to be so positive. The silence is interrupted when she finally starts cackling under her breath. A wide smile on her face. Touché. Sorry? Never mind. What I meant to say was, thanks. We'd like to have you back as well. I'd like to have you back as well. Been forever since I last had fun with someone other than Apollo. Maybe one day you'll actually pose a challenge at Reaper's Scythe. Just wait and see. It'll be sooner than you think. It better. Kicking your ass is only so fun when all you can do is jump around like a scared bunny. Look who's talking, you camper. Camper? I played a ranged character. There's nothing campy about taking advantage of a character's full kit. Full kit? You barely used 10 moves at most. At least I tried to diversify my options. Oh, is that what you call it? I thought you were just trying to dance the salsa or something. The fucking uwu is back. It's back. The hallway's suddenly filled with you and your friend's laughter, probably much to the nearby residents' annoyance. You can tell that the human was just messing around, and she knew you were as well, a lighthearted contrast to the heated debates from earlier. Maybe there really is hope for this strange friendship between you two. Either way, I'll be looking forward to hanging out with you and your brother again. Likewise, feel free to return one of these days. I'm sure Apollo will never object to having you around. Of course. Want me to share my number? You mean your phone number? Daphne, I am the phone now. Oh, right. Even though you look nothing like a human, it's kinda hard to remember you're an android sometimes. I'll take that as a compliment. Alright, and while we're at it, here's my number as well. The two of you take some time to share your respective numbers. The girl writes yours down on her smartphone, whereas you commit hers to memory and hope that it'll be enough. You have a CPU for a brain after all. It'd be pretty ridiculous if you could still forget things like that on a whim. Nevertheless, now that there's nothing else that needs to be done, you can bid goodbye to your new friend. Alright, I should go now. Thanks for everything again. No problem. Call me if you need anything, okay? Of course. See you again one of these days. I'll count on it. With that, the human gently closes the door behind her, leaving you all alone in the middle of the hallway. There's nothing left for you to do but head back to your apartment and wait for the next day to start. You cannot think of anything better to do with your time than that at this hour of the day. Hopefully, tomorrow will at least be a little calmer than today was. As you head towards the stairs, you can't help but wonder over everything that happened tonight. A kind young man with strange memory troubles, a human girl that hides secrets from both you and her own brother, and a band of strange criminals who seem to have a history with them. Not to mention that strange shade you met while you were messing around in the living room. That's got to be the scariest thing you ever saw in your life. Like something straight out of a horror film. It definitely wasn't human. You're not even sure it was even physically there with you. Could it have been an ability then? No, even that's ridiculous. Abilities usually consist in the manipulation of the elements, temporary shape-shifting, or other superhuman feats. A perfect example would be those ice manipulation gimmicks that Thug tried to use against you earlier. But that thing was entirely unlike anything you've ever heard of. It looked like an actual ghost, who could both reason and talk as if it had a mind of its own. You've heard of uncommons who possess atypical powers before, but even that still doesn't answer the most important question of all. If that really was an ability, who did it belong to? I'm probably overthinking this. It was probably just a visual bug of some sort. Or hallucination. Maybe just my imagination going crazy for a second. Maybe I should take some pills for this. Assuming there are any that could work on me. Maybe I should ask Mary about it tomorrow. With these thoughts keeping your head occupied, you continue on your merry way towards your apartment, hoping that no further apparitions will startle you again on your journey. You enter your apartment, such as it is. Even though you've been living here for the past few days, it's still just as disorganized as it was when you first arrived. You meant to undo all the packaging and settle in as soon as you could. But laziness is a difficult demon to exercise, especially now that you have so much time on your hands. Your first instinct is to drag yourself to the bed in the other room and immediately go to sleep, but you hardly make it 5 steps in before you collapse on top of the large couch in the middle of the room. You need a moment to collect yourself, or 2, or 100. Only now that you're sprawled on your sofa like an extra layer of clothing do you realize how thoroughly today's events have drained you. From all the times where you were forced to recall your own death, to the ones where you were confronted by the misery of your current existence, to the people who treated you like trash simply because they could. Is there no end to how awful your life is going to get? Is there nothing you can do to show people that you too are worthy of respect just the same as everyone else? Your mind grows ever darker as these thoughts begin to cloud your better judgment. Though a few lights remain even in the mist. Mary, Natalie, Apollo, Daphne. There are still some people willing to give you a chance, to show you the kindness that you so desperately crave. But even then, the specter of your existence or lack thereof casts a grim shadow on your hopes. If you truly are nothing more than a machine, if you truly are not the same person you claim to be, would they still look at you the same way as they do now? Would they not cast you aside if you're nothing but trash? Would they not try to get rid of you if you're nothing but a monster? Like your family did? Though you cannot shed tears, you can feel your vision growing fuzzier as you begin to sob uncontrollably. You burrow your head into the pillow in an attempt to hide from your own fears, though that hardly seems to help. You've endured these feelings all day, but now they claim the suffering they feel they're owed. And so both your mind and your vision begin to fade to black. When you regain consciousness, you find yourself strapped to your bed, if you can even call it that, in the midst of what can barely be called a bedroom. You cannot recall what you did last night after enduring that stress-fueled panic attack. Presumably, all you did was drag your behind to this chair at some point, and let it do its job of lulling you to sleep. You recall dreaming about a warm sunset illuminating a green mountain, and something about electric sheep. Even now that you're a synthetic, recalling your dreams to the letter is just as hard as when you were human. Luckily, you don't feel the pain from last night creeping in at this moment. You're feeling remarkably calm, all things considered. A quick check of your status reveals that it's about 10 in the morning. A little late even by your standards. You should probably start getting ready for the day ahead. You unhook yourself from the refueling station and proceed to the corner of the room, towards the large wardrobe where you keep all your clothes. Wait, what? A wardrobe? You recall there being the materials for one lying around in one of the boxes in the living room somewhere. How come they're all here now? Perfectly assembled nonetheless. You open the wardrobe feeling confused like never before. It's full to the brim with the clothes Pandora lent you, which up until yesterday were all packed into a box placed right where you're standing. This is really starting to get freaky. You try to come up with a solution to your strange situation. Some sort of answer that would explain what in the world happened last night that you can't recall. The most likely explanation is that there's yet another glitch within your systems. Some sort of weird software bug that Mary never discovered. Even though her team ran all sorts of checkups on you yesterday morning. That said, it's still the most likely explanation you can come up with, so you decide to push this inconsistency to the back of your mind for now. You'll ask your friends at Pandora about it another time. With that out of the way, you focus once again on the wardrobe before you. The clothes are all neatly divided by color and type, which again is enough to make you figuratively raise an eyebrow. Where did I find the time and willpower to do any of this? I've been postponing it for days now. Trying not to let your worries get the best of you, you hastily grab your now familiar yellow jacket and gray trousers from their hangers. You don't really need clothes now that you're an android, much like food, water, and anything else you used to require back when you were human. That's not going to stop you from retaining your sense of decency, however. It's about all you have left, now that even your sanity seems to have abandoned you. There we go. Looks good enough. What are my plans for today again? I don't remember having any. You briefly recall yesterday's events starting from the beginning of your morning. All the way to your fight in that alleyway with those thugs. It's only been one day and yet your perception of that incident is completely different. I can't believe I actually beat those people up. What was I even thinking? Sure, I did it to protect Apollo, but that'll hardly change people's perception if they found out what I did, especially considering how they reacted when I shoved that police officer. God, Jasper would fucking kill me if he found out. Okay, let's calm down for a second. I need to think about this critically before I actually lose my mind. First off, it was dark and nobody was around. It's unlikely anyone could implicate me in that fight even if they could hear us. Besides those thugs anyway, but they'd never tell anyone about what happened. Even if they claimed that I attacked them, they'd still get in trouble for trying to defend themselves under the current laws. So the most likely scenario is that they'll just keep quiet about what happened, so they don't have to implicate themselves in this mess. So that should be good in theory. Those guys will keep their mouths shut. I'll keep my mouth shut, and we can all just move on with our lives as usual. Could have gone way worse, all things considered. That's quite a relief. You were pretty scared there for a moment, but it seems like things will work out fine for you after all. Guess that means the only thing I can look forward to is more fun learning sessions with Natalie. She still needs to teach me how to use this body to its full potential and everything. You recall that the current time is somewhere around 10 in the morning. Odd. You expected her to wake you up a little sooner than this. It could be that she just wakes up later for work-related reasons. And after last night's events, she definitely has every right to take it easy for a day. Or maybe she's just busy attending to more pressing matters than a sleepy android refusing to wake up. Either way, I could really go for some breakfast right now. There should be some leftovers from the other day in the kitchen. Might as well start the day on a high note before I hit up Natalie. Even as an android, it is difficult to resist the allure of a delicious American breakfast. Besides, the food's likely going to rot tomorrow unless you do something with it today. You might as well get this out of the way early so you don't forget later. Motivated to make the best out of your free day, you head towards the kitchen with a pep in your step. What? It definitely didn't look like this earlier. As you reach the living room, you almost trip over yourself as you realize that something is terribly right. What used to be a nowhere near furnished living space has somehow turned into a homely, cozy environment overnight, rivaling even Daphne and Apollo's apartment. The walls are adorned with colorful posters, your entire computer setup is perfectly rigged. Even the mini-fridge is already set up, and you're not sure you even had a mini-fridge before. And all those books, fake plants, and assorted memorabilia that Pandora once gifted you are out in full display, too. Now you almost feel guilty for never giving your home a chance to shine this bright. As you try to figure out what in the world happened to your place while you peacefully slept in your chair, the answer inevitably presents itself to you. Hey yo, is that a cop? Good morning. You've been asleep for quite a long time. An unfamiliar St. Bernard introduces himself all of a sudden, having somehow managed to elude your sight until now through sheer silence alone. You have no idea who this man is, how he got into your home, or what he's doing sitting on your sofa like he owns the place. You'll admit that the sight of him is certainly nowhere near as frightening as that apparition from yesterday, but that doesn't make it any less unwelcome. For whatever reason, I assumed you'd be up and ready in about 2, maybe 3 hours ago. Do you usually take this long to rest and refuel? I suppose that now that you are synthetic, it really doesn't matter when you wake up. Daily routines are nothing more than mere formality to you now. Nevertheless, it would make our job a lot easier if you were to try and follow them anyway. I'm sure my team would appreciate that greatly. What in the world is he talking about? And who in the world is he for that matter? The tone of his voice implies that he's much older than you, but his physical appearance seems to thoroughly deny that hypothesis. Other than that, he seems like a perfectly average man. Those clothes he's wearing look somewhat formal, much like those of an office worker. Could he be another employee of Pandora you somehow never stumbled upon? You take a brief look around the room, looking for clues other than the old man making weird comments from your couch. There are two other men, much younger than the first, standing by the door with a stoic expression on their faces. One of them is a reddish, slightly out-of-shape squirrel, whereas the other is a slender and stiff cheetah. You do not recognize either of them from your 2-week stay at Pandora. Their attire makes it clear that they work with or are somehow associated with the strange guy on the couch, but you struggle to understand why anyone would want to work with idiots who think wearing sunglasses indoors is cool. A disgruntled growl coming from the corner of the room alerts you to yet another stranger's presence. This surprise party has even more attendees than you originally thought. As you turn to face the source of the noise, you are shocked to find out that it comes from none other than a synthetic? And a strange one at that. Oh my god, it's a toaster party. Woo! Toasters! Their appearance is entirely unlike yours. They look tougher, wilder, almost beast-like. You don't recall Mary ever showing you that model while planning out your future body with you. Their features are still somewhat reptilian, although you struggle to figure out just what species they're modeled after. Their ridiculously large claws and dangerously spiked tail don't really inspire a lot of confidence in you either way. You try to meet their gaze, but you find yourself unable to as their eyes stare into yours as coldly and threateningly as daggers, inevitably forcing you to turn away. Just who or what in the world is this thing? Excuse me. Couldn't help but notice you got a little spooked by Harlan there. Don't worry, he's mostly harmless. Unless, of course, I tell him otherwise, which, rest assured, I won't. We're all friends here, after all, or will be given time. Harlan, not someone you recognize anyone mentioning back at Pandora, and yet that body was most certainly built with their technology. Whoever he is, he seems to be working for this man just the same as those idiots by the door, though you still don't know who any of them are supposed to be. Father, apologies, father, apologies, father, apologies, father, apologies. I think I figured out what they're here for. They're here for toast, because we're toasters. Yay! Perhaps it's time for you to break the silence and begin asking some questions. Last I checked, friends didn't barge into their pals' homes uninvited. So how about you tell me who in the world you're supposed to be before I call the cops on you? Perhaps you sound a little angry for someone in the same room as Harlan over there. However, given the circumstances, it's hard to keep your automatic fight-or-flight response in check. Call the cops, you say? After what they did to you yesterday? Sounds like a terrible idea. Besides, I don't see the point in calling them when we're already here. The man slowly stands up, adjusts the tie hanging on his... Oh no, bro. The man slowly stands up, adjusting the tie hanging on his neck, then bluntly extends his hand towards you as if expecting you to shake it. Agent Bradbury, FBI, at your service. Agent Bradbury? FBI? No fucking way. You're glad this body doesn't have any fur on it, else it would be all risen at once as soon as you process those words. There's no way this guy's for real, right? Yeah, right. And I'm Rudolph the reindeer. The man nonchalantly laughs off your joke as though it is the funniest thing he's heard in his life. Or the most stupid. Eventually, his smile turns into a smirk as he prepares to address your doubts. You used to go by Isaac before you transitioned as well, when Pandora suddenly came to rescue you from near death. Is that right? Isn't that right? How do you... Brain cancer. Ironic, isn't it? It's been over 2 centuries since chemotherapy was invented, and yet no definitive cure for cancer has ever been found. You must have endured quite a lot. No wonder you chose to trust Pandora's word and became a synthetic. You're not sure what to be more unsettled by, the amount of your private information this man has access to, or how apathetic he looks as he shares it with you. Regardless, I believe I've made my point quite clear. We're the real deal. Unless you'd like us to wave our badges around like freshly appointed rookies, just so there's no further doubt in your mind. Fine, you've made your point. Though that hardly means you suddenly like them or anything. In fact, knowing that they're FBI upsets you even more. If before you were only mad that they somehow broke into your apartment while you slept, Now you're also worried that they may be here for more than a simple meet and greet. Wonderful. I suppose that's our introduction out of the way for now. That's always the most important part of every conversation, isn't it? And here you thought the most annoying part of this conversation was him. So, are you going to tell me why you're here now? Maybe when you're going to leave too while you're at it? My. And here I thought you'd cherish slow conversations now that you have all the time in the world at your disposal. Show a little patience, won't you? We might as well savor this conversation instead of rushing into it headlong. It's not like either of us are going anywhere for the time being. You distinctly notice a veiled thread hidden within his otherwise polite request, and given the 2 guards stationed at your door and the imposing android brooding in the corner, you cannot afford to ignore it. Speaking of, I'm rather hungry from all the waiting around. You don't mind having a little snack while we chat, do you? As if reacting to an invisible command, one of the 2 agents stationed by the door suddenly begins heading towards your kitchen at the canine's request. Now, hold on! What's he doing now? Preparing breakfast, of course. Aren't you feeling a little hungry, too? Don't worry. We took the liberty of looking into your fridge earlier while we were tidying up the place for you. We know you have plenty of food to spare. You did what? They're the ones to blame for refurbishing your home? Why in the world would they decide to do something like that for you? On second thought, that's probably not the most important thing to worry about right now. Hold on. Why are you wording it like you're the ones offering me something? You're literally stealing my food from my kitchen. And for that matter, I never gave you permission to do any of this in the first place. Oh, relax, Isaac. Agent Smith is a wonderful cook, the best in the Bureau. You won't regret trusting him with your tools and ingredients. That hardly answers any of your questions. Though the dog doesn't seem to care all that much, aside from a coy grin indicating his enjoyment of the situation. We could have just done all this earlier, mind you, but I thought you'd rather our breakfast be hot than cold. I don't know you, but I personally hate being served terrible food in the morning. It just ruins my mood for the rest of the day. From the looks of things, this man is not interested in addressing your concerns in the slightest. It's like his every remark is nothing more than a sloppily masked taunt. As you ponder this over the sound of the eggs and bacon frying in the kitchen, you see Bradbury invite you to join him over on the couch. Why don't we have a little chat while we wait for our food? Start covering some ground together since you're so eager to get back to your life. Now that's something you can get behind, even if the prospect of sitting so close to that man has you a little on edge. Hold up, stream's shitting itself. There we go. Regardless, fine by me. You carefully take a seat next to the St. Bernard, while still keeping as much distance between the two of you as possible. As you sit down, you give another glance at the gloomy android watching your every move from his little corner of the room, his large hands ready to swipe at you at a moment's notice. That gaze of his really doesn't inspire the greatest confidence in you. He's almost like a feral animal, ready to pounce on you when you least expect it. If you guys are FBI agents, then who's that guy supposed to be? The diversity hire? The canine chuckles at your passive-aggressive joke, waving off your hostility as if it were a mere attempt at hilarity. Interested in our very own synthetic, aren't you? I suppose I might as well tell you more about him, since you can't seem to pry your eyes away from him. He's been with us for half a year now. A real dedicated fellow, that one. You hear a strange noise coming from Harlan's corner as if in response to the man's description, though you don't notice anything unusual by the time you've turned to look at him again. Bradbury doesn't seem to have noticed that at all, however, and he proceeds with its explanation as if nothing happened. You could say he works for us, but he's not an employee by any means. He works for you? Yes, you could say he's my bodyguard of sorts. You can never be too careful out there, especially these days. I've heard that the streets around here get awfully dangerous at night. You never quite know what might happen to you amidst the darkness. You somehow manage to suppress your desire to audibly gulp in front of him, keeping your fear locked up inside for the time being. No way. There's no way he knows about that scuffle from yesterday, is there? Before you can even properly begin to worry about the implications of that hypothesis, the St. Bernard beckons for your attention once again. You seem a little spooked all of a sudden. Are you the sort of person that gets frightened easily by these things? He doesn't seem to be confirming your suspicions for the time being. Maybe you jumped the gun on that assessment. Either way, you definitely shouldn't give him any reasons to think you're connected to a crime or anything of the sort. Yeah, I get nervous easily at night. Always feel like I might get jumped by someone when I least expect it. Oh, you poor soul. I'm deeply sorry about that. No one should live in fear of something awful happening to them because of another person's foolishness. But please, do take care when you're on your own at night. The time's not right for your kind to flourish, sadly. And the last thing I want is for anything unfortunate to happen to you now that you're at your most vulnerable. I see. You should probably get back to a more comfortable conversation before Bradbury presses you further on this very dangerous topic. So, you mentioned Harlan works for you. I thought synthetics were supposed to live ordinary lives after transitioning. How come he's working for you then? Is Pandora okay with this? And how come you never heard anything about it to begin with? Oh, nothing of the sort, I assure you. His arrangement is quite different from yours. Is that so? Yes. But I'm afraid I cannot share much else on this topic, which, I should add, has nothing to do with our present conversation anyway. After all, we're here to talk about you, not him. Of course. Even when he offers to answer your questions, he still refrains from giving you the answers you seek. You're not sure why you expected anything else. In that case, how about you just tell me why you came here to begin with? It's not every day the feds come knocking at your door. Or barge in uninvited for that matter. You expected a straightforward answer, but Bradbury only greets you with silence and a confident smirk. All of a sudden, the old man begins to softly, continuously cackle like you just shared the funniest joke of his entire life. Oh dear, where do we begin? What are you laughing about? Oh, my apologies. I've been trying to keep that laugh subdued all morning, but it seems even I have my limits. I just couldn't resist, really. I do hope you can forgive me. What are you talking about? His laughter truly is among the most chilling things you've ever heard in your life. It's like hearing nails scraping a blackboard in the midst of a haunted school. Oh? You really need me to clue you in? Well, since you're asking so politely. Just that between your attitude and choice of words so far, it's obvious that you have absolutely no clue of what in the world your life has become, and where your choices have led you. What's that supposed to mean? You act under the foolish impression that you somehow still have power, freedom, rights. Rest assured, you don't. You threw all those away along with your life when you sold your soul to Pandora. Isn't that right? In spite of his face remaining more or less the same, you feel as though a switch suddenly flipped in his personality. Like all the cunning and malice that he was keeping pent up inside him were unleashed all at once, with devastating effects. You really don't know anything, do you, Isaac? You don't know your rights. You don't know whether your transition succeeded. You don't even know whether you truly are who you claim you are. Who Pandora claims you are. How do you... Come on. Are you really going to ask the FBI agent how he has access to all this highly confidential information? Probably not. You can already imagine it either way. You don't know how long you've been spied on, but it's clear that these guys did their homework on you. If they're trying to unnerve you, they're definitely succeeding. All you can do right now is worry over the canine's words, which are more than enough to summon a storm of dark thoughts in your mind. Look, you don't know whether the transition succeeded either. No, I do not. But for that matter, neither do you. Neither can you, rather. All we've got going for us are our theories. And you can clearly see that one of them is more probable than the other. I mean, do you seriously believe a corporation like Pandora would develop a technology to make people live forever and just throw it out there just like that? Test it on nobodies like you instead of saving it for the richest and most powerful men in the world? Like the upper echelons of their management, for example? He does raise good objections, though you definitely don't like the place where he's coming from. And what would your theory be then? That you're nothing more than an AI, of course. An extremely advanced AI, mind you, capable of mimicking a human being to perfection, but an AI nonetheless. Of course. Why are you not surprised? He's of the same mind as all those people out there, except he's in a far greater position to harm you than any of them. Things really are spiraling out of control faster than you can get a hold of them. Looking rather glum over there, aren't we? Like I said, a perfect simulation of human emotion. Unnecessary, but highly convincing. While Bradbury laughs Laughs off your sudden outburst, his underling returns from the kitchen with 2 hot plates of food in his hands. He leaves them on the dining table on the other side of the room, then nonchalantly returns to his post while Bradbury compliments his work. Wonderful work, Agent Smith. You can smell that delicious aroma even from here. Without a word of warning, the man suddenly stands up and heads over to the table, leaving you behind on the couch to sulk in your doubts. What are you doing over there, Isaac? The food's going to get cold at this rate. Unsurprisingly, all these heavy thoughts he's summoned with his threats and arguments have caused you to quickly lose your appetite. You'd rather keep staring at him angrily from where you sit than share a table or a meal with that venomous snake of a man. I'm not hungry anymore. Such a shame. You're really missing out, you know. Ah, well. More for me, I suppose. And just like that, he helps himself to your serving as if he didn't just spend the last few minutes undermining your faith and self-confidence. Like your hatred for him isn't getting bigger and bigger with every second that passes. Look, think about it this way. If I'm right and you're nothing more than an AI designed to behave like a real human, a ton of things suddenly start to make a lot more sense, don't they? Like what exactly? Why not even you know why not even you know what exactly the transition entails, for example? For all you know, it may not have even happened at all. Or why Pandora is so confident that you won't cause any trouble like anyone who's just been gifted an invincible and immortal body would in your position. Oh please, you're telling me the first thing you'd do if you were synthetic would be to jump off a cliff or get run over by a bulldozer? Fair point, then let me raise a few more obvious objections. It'd explain why you can still eat, drink, sleep, and do many other things that an android doesn't really need to do. No, it doesn't. All these features were clearly included to help make the transition from human to synthetic smoother. That's what Apollo concluded yesterday either way. And you have no reason to doubt his intuition. Or maybe they were simply added to improve the illusion Pandora's trying to sell to the masses. The first step to convincing everyone that synthetics are real people is to convince you that you're a real person. To fool you into thinking you're just another human like everyone else, when you could be so much more. After all, if the AI itself believes to be human, then it's the job of convincing others of that same the same fact becomes a lot easier, doesn't it? You can appeal to emotion instead of facts. You can strike friendships instead of listing solid points. And all the while you remain blissfully unaware of it all, blindly faithful as you are in the lies Pandora serves you on a silver platter. You truly have no idea of what to say right now, stuck as you are pondering on Bradbury's words as he contentedly eats breakfast at your table. His theories aren't quite as easily disproven as the mindless hatred you've been enduring lately, and some of his points keep nagging at the back of your head like woodpeckers pecking on a tree trunk. Could there be some truth in what he's saying? Could Pandora truly have deceived you? Could your faith in your humanity, the reassurances you've made to your friends, be nothing more than mere delusions of a foolish AI? No, I didn't come here just to give you an existential crisis. Bradbury beckons you from his quaint spot on the other side of the room, placidly munching on some eggs and bacon. I actually came to ask you for a favor. We are going to leave off here tonight. Great heavens. I can't think of anything to say, so stay safe, have a good night, and I'll see you all tomorrow.